What it do, y'all? It's your girl Makeup and Travel, and for today's video, your girl is here to bring you another video in my series of must have must gags. And yeah, so this series on my channel is where I have been inspired by Samantha March's Will I Buy It series. I always have her series and the community playlist linked down below, as well as all of my sources on Instagram. I tend to focus on indie brands, and I think that is very unique, as not a lot of people of color or black women really focus and show a lot of indie brands on their channel. So that is where I'm at. I love indie brands. I love the fact that like whatever I purchase is literally going to somebody's livelihood, is literally going to somebody's family, and that is very important to me, and I love doing that. So that is what I like to focus on. So that is going to be the majority of the products that I talk about, as always. I also have a playlist where I publish all of these videos, so if you're interested in seeing how I went from the very first video to now, by all means feel free to look at that playlist. I have none of my videos on private. I can't be bothered to put them on private at this point in my life. If you're wondering what's on my eyes, I did record it. It will not be coming up before this video, because this video will be coming up in 2 days. But I did it with my Nomad Cosmetics palette, so just keep an eye out on that video. It should be coming up maybe next week, if not the week after. I've pretty much catched up with the videos that I had sitting delayed because I had a couple of videos I really wanted to get out before Halloween. I hope you guys weren't too bombarded with all the amount of videos I pushed out Halloween week. It was just a lot of videos that I wanted to get out pretty quickly, and I had been so busy doing so many different trips lately on the weekends that I haven't been able to get out Sunday videos. So that has kind of pushed some things around. On that note, last update, I will be doing my how many releases did you wish for the month of September and October this month, the month of November. So do just wait for that. I will be doing it on the opposite Sundays that I push these videos out. But without further ado, I am just going to scoot over. I do just want to let you guys know that it is Friday around noon, so any new releases will not be put on here. And yeah, so there is one kind of miscellaneous thing that I want to talk about. It is a perfume, and it is from Indecent Library. They have a perfume. The perfume that I'm talking about here is the Librarian perfume. This aligns with my current job, so I am intrigued to know what this is and like what it smells like. It says the scent notes are a library full of all the books in the world. The librarian takes notes and catalogs while sipping a large mug of hot buttered rum laced with espresso. A whisper of patio flowers follows her through the stacks. I don't know what that means. That's a little, I don't know what that means. But I'm interested. I want to look at this brand. I've been really getting into bringing scents into my life. And so I'm interested. Patrick Ta released his monochrome moment collection, where he has a blush associated with a lip gloss, associated with a lip liner, and then a highlighting brush as well. I will not be purchasing any of these things, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you why step by step. As for the blushes, I have only been reaching for shimmery and satin blushes. That's it. I haven't been reaching for any matte blushes at all. So this being a matte blush is not going to be my cup of tea. Lip gloss, I don't need any lip glosses. I have about 10, and that's about as good as your girl needs. Lip liners, I go through a phase where I use lip liners, but right now I'm not using them. I have quite a few lip liners that I would like to get through in my collection, and is a pass for me. And the highlighter brush looks too big for me. I like a very tapered, small, pin-pointed brush, and this brush looks to be fluffy like the brush that I use for my under eyes. So for me, none of these products really work, which is perfectly fine because your girl don't need them. So it is going to be a pass for me. Kalidas Cosmetics released their Halloween palette, and it is on the screen. It's called the Wicked palette. It has 5 shimmers, or 5 mattes, 3 shimmers, and 1 duochrome. I heard somebody say that they felt like this was the updated Manny MUA and Makeup Geek collab. I guess I see that. To me, it's just a neutral palette with just like an oomph to it, but it's not enough oomph for me. So it is going to be a pass for me. Sample Beauty has released their Equalizer palette, which is a huge palette. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not scared of huge palettes. Wow. Don't get me wrong. I'm not afraid of huge palettes, but this is just not a color scheme or a palette that I am attracted to. It's basically a glorified rainbow palette with a row of neutrals, and I don't need that in my collection. Girl Meets Makeup is a brand that I saw, like they had an ad on my Instagram, and so I just wanted to talk about this one palette. It's their fall release, and it has some really nice colors, some colors that are really intriguing to the eye, really bring you in and make you intrigued to look at this palette. Overall, it's not a palette that I need, so it is going to be a pass for me. Mel Thompson did her collaboration. I'm so happy for her. It's a collaboration with Kristen Odette. They're a high-end, more towards a luxury brand, and it is a lipstick collection. So she has two lipsticks, one that is her perfect nude and one that is a very bold orangey red. And then she has two lip liners, one that works for her complexion and one that would work for a deeper complexion. I wish I could support her on this, but I can't, and her reason why is because it's only sold in a bundle. I can no longer tell myself and allow myself to purchase things that I know won't work for me. I know her perfect nude is not going to be my cup of tea, and that lip liner that's associated is also not going to work for me as well. If I could pick up the darker lip liner and the orangey red lipstick, I would do it. I would do it. I support her. I know I would get used to those colors because those are colors that I have in my collection and I do reach for in my collection. So unfortunately, as of right now, I cannot pick this up. I did notice though that she is selling the candle. So the candle that went out with the PR. So if you are interested in the candle, maybe that could be something. That could be something that I purchased because I have been into lighting candles in my room at least an hour a day just to get a nice little aroma going in here. So maybe that'll be something that I end up scooping up because otherwise I cannot support the collab. A new brand that I wanted to bring up is Brown Melanin Makeup. They came out with a new eyeshadow palette that won't actually releasing until November 10th. It is a neutral palette. It is a very nice looking neutral palette, but this looks like something that I already have in my collection. I know I have all these shades, but like the actual color scheme in the palette looks like something I already have. It reminds me a lot of my Zori palette, and then the shimmers are shimmers that I have, i.e. a shimmer that is actually on my lid, that greeny gold, I have that on my lid. So this is going to be a pass for me. Huda Beauty came out with her Mercury Retrograde palette, and I just wanted to show you this. Somebody went ahead and kind of compared it to an indie brand, Kalidas Cosmetics Sandra Rose palette, and it's going to be on the screen, their comparison. I thought this was very interesting. I actually was more interested, I necessarily wasn't interested in either palette, but I was kind of weirdly talking myself into getting the Kalidas palette, and I've since then stopped talking myself into it. There's no reason to talk myself into purchasing anything. So both of these palettes are going to be a pass for me, but if you don't necessarily support Huda and you want a general gist of this color scheme in a palette, maybe go ahead and consider that one. Makeup Revolution has done an obscene amount of holiday releases. They always have a lot of beauty boxes and this, that, and the third. You can apparently get the stuff 30% off on their website, all the vaults and stuff. If you go on their website, none of these vaults are really my cup of tea. I don't need that much stuff. I tend to buy enough stuff as it is. I don't need to buy one big vault to get an obscene amount of stuff. So your girl is good. Maybelline released a new foundation, and it is called their Dream Radiant Liquid. I think they have like a Dream like matte version or something, which is why they're bringing out the radiant version. I don't need any new foundations. I am attempting to get through a good amount of foundations. I've gotten through, I want to say, about 4 or 5 this year, which is not bad, but I still have a good amount. So I have too many foundations right now. I would say the color, the range is a little piss poor, but honestly, it's irrelevant for me right now. I'm not purchasing it, so it's going to be a huge pass for me. BH Cosmetics has released their latest palette in their Zodiac collection. It is their Scorpio palette. I think this is bold for this collection, but it's not good enough for me. So it's a pass. There's way too many grays. I have a gray palette. There are browns, there are reds. It's just not for me. Kalidas Cosmetics released their highlighter collection. I did message them on Instagram to try and get some more information. I was hoping they had sent this collection to a person my complexion so I could see the highlighters on somebody my complexion before I purchased it, but they never replied to me. Maybe because I'm too small, maybe because they never saw it. I don't know. But I did go ahead and scoop up one of these highlighters. I made the post on my Instagram, but the new Melt collection that they're doing for their holiday, they have a very bright rainbowy palette, and then they have a really cool tone-ish palette. The really bright palette reminded me of one of the Kalidas palettes that I had already told myself I don't need, but I was still attracted to that color scheme. So I decided, because I had been repetitively attracted to that color scheme, I wanted to go ahead and pick up a palette. I decided to pick up the Kalidas version because I wanted to try their formula. And so while I picked up that formula, or that palette, which was the neon palette, I believe, I went ahead and picked up Laser Glazer. That is a unique highlighter for my collection. I don't have very many rose gold highlighters, let alone rose gold highlighters that shift to a green. So that's why I picked it up. It wasn't and I'm intrigued by the formula. All the others I know I have in my collection, so I went ahead and skipped. I am very intrigued because, like I said, I've only seen it on lighter complexions. I have seen it on person of color. The Fancy Face did get this collection, but she's still not my complexion. So we will see how that works out. Physicians Formula released a new eyeshadow palette. It's called the Eyeshadow Banquet, which is like a rose extract. Oh, it's called the Rose All Day Eyeshadow Banquet. My bad. This is basically a glorified but very pretty dupe of the Huda Beauty new Nudes palette. I have that palette. I love that palette. I don't need this palette. Something I did not talk about, and nor will I be doing a dedicated video on, Sephora is currently doing their VIB sale. It has already started. I am recording this video on the 1st. I have already made my purchase. I purchased 2 eyeshadow palettes. I purchased the Lunar Beauty Holiday Collection, and I also purchased, okay, I don't need that from you, and I also purchased, what was the other palette? I only purchased 2 palettes. Oh, I purchased the ABH Norvina 3 palette. So those are the only 2 things that I'm going to be purchasing during this sale. If I purchase anything else, it will be for my best friend. We like to purchase our Christmas gifts for each other during this period, but that's if she can get her life together to give me a list. So we'll see about that. But I am satisfied with the things I have. I'm satisfied with my skincare. I'm satisfied with my makeup. I'm satisfied. And I think I'm only allowing myself 2 more purchases for the end of the year. I want to get the one eyeshadow palette from the Melt Cosmetics holiday collection. I am very interested in that. And then I want to do another order from Beautylish because I did get that $60 off card based on my Beautylish credit gift card event purchase. There are 3 things that I will be purchasing in that order, and I'm pretty confident in that order, but I want to wait a little bit longer to get through a little bit more of the stuff that I already have before I completely make that order. So I am very set for the end of the year, but I still want to talk about stuff. Okay, next, Folie Fire released a palette. It's called their oh gosh, why do people do this to me? Syncope palette. It's a pretty palette. I like that there are some neutrals, some blues, and some greens, but if we're being honest, and I'm going to force myself to be honest, it reminds me very much of my Nomad palette, which is the palette that I use today. It's a palette I already have, so it is going to be a pass for me. L'Oreal has released their holiday collection. where they have an eyeshadow palette, some eyeliners, some lip glosses, some other stuff like that. None of this is speaking to me at all, so it's going to be a huge pass for me. Scott Barnes, I don't know if he already had his line or his makeup range, but he is going to be coming out with a makeup range. This screams makeup artist to me. Not that that's a bad thing, but it just screams makeup artist. You have a contour palette, a blush palette, a highlighting palette, you have a neutral toned eyeshadow palette, and then you have a more colorful toned eyeshadow palette. None of these are screaming to me. I do love a good bronzer. Everybody and their mother knows that, but all of those bronzers in that contour palette will not work for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass. Dior has released their holiday collection where they have 2 eyeshadow palettes, some nail polishes, some lipsticks, and I think that's it for the 2 eyeshadow palettes. I actually am intrigued by the brighter eyeshadow palette. I wouldn't have expected something like that coming from Dior, but I have told myself this year that I'm not buying from any luxury or high-end brands. I have already broken that twice and I don't want to break it again. So I am going to go ahead and pass and keep it pushing. Norvina released 2 mini eyeshadow palettes for her Norvina Pro Pigment range. Now, I do want to briefly talk about this. I did just recently post like kind of a get ready with me talking about the Norvina and ABH situation. And now it seems everybody is like okay with it. They're starting to realize, because Norvina has come out and said Norvina is kind of a separate sister brand to ABH. They're like, oh, well, it would have been better if you told us that before. And oh, it would have been better if you brought everything out. Once again, if you didn't know you wanted to purchase the makeup when it came out, just wait. Limited edition takes a while, okay? A while to actually go off the shelves and to sell out. So cool your jets. Norvina released, like I said, the 2 mini eyeshadow palettes. One is a replica or a mini version of her Norvina 1. The other one is a mini version of her Norvina 3. I was not interested in Norvina 1. I have way too many purples in my collection, so I don't need that, nor do I need this mini. As for the Norvina 3 mini, I was actually intrigued by it for a little bit, and then I really took the time to look at it. The depth difference in this palette is basically null and void. So for me, that's why I didn't purchase this palette. In addition, the amount of eyeshadow that you get in this palette is not nearly half the amount that you would get getting the Big Daddy one. The Big Daddy Norvinas are $60. These small ones are $29. So you're getting less than half of the amount of eyeshadows, not even the product, the variety of eyeshadows. You're getting less than half getting this palette, but you're basically paying half the price. That is a no-go for me. So it is a pass. I'm not going to be getting it. BMA Cosmetics company came out with some new eyeshadows, and for some reason I was just very intrigued by the look of the actual pans. They just look very, very intriguing. So we will see. I am trying to slow down on my singles purchasing. I have a lot of single eyeshadows, so maybe after I kind of take the time to go through some of these new singles that I have, because I have been getting a couple of new ones, then I might be able to kind of scoop up some of those that are unique for my collection without having a guilty conscience. Notoriously Morbid came out with some shades for Halloween. I have been very good this year. I haven't purchased very many, if any. I think I've only purchased one Halloween collection or release. And Notoriously Morbid came out with their own Halloween release. This is the only shade that halfway intrigued me, and it's a grave mistake. It's like a very gold green color. Very pretty, and I think there's some orange in there as well. I would be intrigued to purchase that, I'm not gonna lie. Let's see how much that costs. It is $10. Let's see if I think it's a loose shade, which would slightly put me off on this. Yeah, I think it's a loose shade, which is kind of disappointing. But We will see. I am very intrigued by that shade. Now, don't get me wrong. I could basically get that with this and throw on some orange in there, and you're good to go. Because this is basically a goldy green. But we'll see. We'll see. Very quickly, I'm going to talk about this. Y'all know I don't support this brand. Jeffree Star has collaborated with Shane Dawson to create their, what is it called? What is Conspiracy collection. So they have a bigger eyeshadow palette, and then they have a smaller one. Let's start off with the smaller one. The smaller one looks to have some blues and some purples and maybe some neutrals. Not a bad color scheme, but not something that I'm very driven to. Then we go to the bigger eyeshadow palette, and I can't help but wonder why we have that row on top of beige. Yes, there is some slight differences. So there's a lighter blue one, maybe a lighter pink one, some brownie light browns, and some lighter grays, but that's all beige. It's all beige. When it goes on my eyeballs, it's beige. So had they had the two lower rows and the more pigmented or more saturated colors from the mini all in one palette, I think it would have been more better. I think it would have been better, but I'm not buying from this brand regardless. So yeah, there you go. I'm not a supporter of Jeffree Star, and I'm not somebody who ever watched Shane Dawson. I watched him for that the very first series that he did with Jeffree Star. I was intrigued, but that's it. So for me, I have no pull toward that collection at all. Patricia Bright is doing a collaboration with Makeup Revolution, and I'm very, very intrigued about this collaboration. So she has two big eyeshadow palettes, one that is more neutral, one that is more bright. I can understand and very much empathize as to why she did that. Patricia is very much a bright and neutral girl, but she doesn't really mix them together. She either goes one way or the other. I love her. I love her channel. I went ahead and purchased her lipstick from MAC. And I didn't think about this when I was limiting my purchases. I might go ahead and pick up one of these as well if it comes to Ulta. I know her two eyeshadow palettes have, but the cheek products haven't. I'm interested in the cheek product. I would love to get that darker cheek trio because you guys know I love face palettes. Face palettes are something that I love to just reach for, put in my everyday makeup section, and just kind of put on all of my cheek products at once. So I would love to add that to my collection, but if it doesn't come to Ulta, most likely I will not be picking it up. Next, I'm going to go into the Huda Beauty. She's doing a lipstick kit for holiday. She's doing two different ones. One with HBIC, and the other lipstick is Girls Trip. Girls Trip is a pinky nude. I don't do pinky nudes like that, so it is a pass for me easily. Then we have the Brownie Nude, and I was going to pick this up. But when looking at it, it looks to be a little too light for a brown for my type of nude. And I don't need any more brown lipsticks. I don't. I am currently trying to pan my ABH Bittersweet, and this is a mini. I do have some like gaps on the side, which is very promising, but my goal was to pan this throughout the year, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to like finish this before the year is up. I do see a decent amount of scraping, and it's getting less and less product. That would be a highlight of my year, is if I'm able to finish up this liquid lipstick. But I have so many brown lipsticks. I have so many. I have like 5 from MAC alone, let alone the others. So I am gonna go ahead and pass. These will be around. They'll go on sale later when I'm able to get through more of my lipsticks. Colourpop came out with some concealers to go with their Pretty Fresh foundation. Like I've said in the past, I'm not that person that feels the need to try out every concealer. For me, concealer is purely just to bring some dimension to my face. I don't have I don't have dark circles like that. I don't have it much hyperpigmentation to have to really cover up. I can generally do that with my foundation and my powder. So for me, I'm not truly interested in really trying this out. If I hear a bunch of very good reviews, then maybe I will pick it up when I am lower on my concealers right now. But right now, I think I have 4 concealers, not including the one that's in my rotation, that I think I am close to panning, because I've been seeing a lot more gaps on the side of this as well. So for me, your girl is good. something that is very, very intriguing, and if I could let myself do it, I would. It is from Rebel Rouge Labs. They have released their Suspended in Dusk palette. This is available for pre-order until November 17th, and this is a beautiful palette. I think this is more on the Christmas kind of color scheme because you have greens and reds, but this is a very, very pretty palette, with of course the one black that I guess you can deepen out your outer V with. Now that would be my only kind of real critique, is that, let's say I'm trying to deepen out the reds, what do I use? I would have to use that dark black shimmer to deepen out my outer V, and in the amount of with the amount of makeup that I have, that small of a thing that I don't personally like, what am I trying to say? That small of a critique that I have for this palette will lead me to not purchase this palette. I need to make such detailed critiques so that I can not purchase as much. So for me, as much as I love those electric greens and those really true, that really bloody, the Bloody Kisses, the Electro Cute, the Hey Peter, like those three colors are the colors that are really grabbing at me, and truly only the Electro Cute and the Bloody Kisses. If I could get that, if I could get that in a duo, I might need to shop my stash to see if I have those two shades. I know I wanted one shade that's very similar from Mercury Cosmetics, maybe. And I think I have a red that's okay. I think what I'm gonna do is either shop my stash or get two shades like that and just make that a duo. That would be a bomb.com duo. Hold on, actually we're gonna take a break from these programming. Poop. So what I was thinking, I know I had a really, really bright lime green in this palette. I thought I had a red, but there are no reds. But I love the combination of these two. I should really do that combination again. That was a beautiful combination. Anyways, that would be a very pretty combination to get like a really lime green and a very, very bloody pigmented red and put that in an eye look. I will try and do that. I need to shop my stash. So that's what I'm going to do. Instead of picking up this palette for those two shades, I'm just going to shop my stash for those two shades. Bitter Lace Beauty has come out with some very interesting highlighters. So they have the Bloodlust and the Slay highlighters, Slay Gold. Now, one thing that I will point out for myself, because your girl was looking at this and I have no business looking at it, is that last Halloween I went ahead and got the Andy Candy Makeup Serial Killer highlighter, which has red dots in this white highlighter. I did use it, but I started to stop using it because the red was like an overspray. So once I get through this kind of initial overspray, I'm not gonna have any more red, and it's just gonna be a white highlighter, and your girl can't use white highlighter. So I was kind of hoarding it a little bit. All that to say that I don't need the kind of dotted one. And as for the other one, I'm actually more intrigued by the Youngblood Cosmetics version, because that looks to be like something I can use multi-purpose. It doesn't look like it would be too highlighty. Stomach. It doesn't look like something that would be too highlighty, that I wouldn't be able to use it as a shimmery blush. So I think I'm gonna pass on these and just go ahead and wait for Youngblood's highlighter to come in, available on Ulta. Next, Youngblood Cosmetics did yet again another advertisement on my Instagram, and I had never heard of this brand, but they had a face palette, and you guys, once again, I love face palettes. It's where I'm at, and it intrigued me. It did. And I also just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about it. It looks like they only have one face palette in one color wave, which that's very questionable. The two blushes do look pretty light, but the highlighters look beautiful. I would have loved if these were just duos, because the highlighter and the blush, they look to be associated. But either way, this looks to be a very interesting brand. It kind of looks to be like one of those brands. It says luxury cosmetics. I should have checked to see how expensive the stuff is. Let's see. Yeah, child, this is luxury. So this is like almost $50 for a blush and highlighter. So very, very expensive, not cheap at all. The face palette that I was talking about, that is $65. That is very, very expensive. And that's just not where my life is right now. So although it looked to be like an interesting brand and I was interested in trying it, it is going to be a pass. Two more things to talk about that I have pinned. Rising Phoenix Makeup has released another eyeshadow palette. It is apparently their 9th anniversary, and they have this palette that has some purples, some neutrals, some greens. Very, very pretty. I mean, outstanding colors. It looks to be like a gaming theme. I don't recognize the game. I haven't gamed since Call of Duty. What was the version? Black Ops? Was that it? The one that had the zombies. That was my thing. Okay, I was killer on that, but I haven't gamed since then, so I don't get any of the gaming references that come out nowadays. But this is a very pretty palette. I just don't need it. I need to tell myself that I don't need it. I would love to try their formula. There are multiple palettes from this brand that I have been interested in, but I just never got around to it. So yeah. And then kind of beauty news, Kesha is coming out with a makeup line. She said that it's going to be full of bright colors, insane rainbows, stuff like that. I'll be intrigued to see what comes out of it, because I know a lot of people thought that was going to be the same thing with the Haus Beauty releases, but it wasn't. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't need another rainbow palette in my collection, so I won't necessarily be running for it, especially because I just bought that rainbow palette from Kalidas. Because yeah, anyways, that's all I have for you guys. Like I said, I'm gonna definitely be slowing down on my purchasing. I'm thinking I'm gonna start my whatever length of a no buy in January, because yes, I can't take a no buy in my birthday month. That's not where my life is. Okay. I'm trying to be responsible, but I'm not that responsible. So I need to pay a bill. So I need to get off of this camera, go check out the noisy body that's downstairs, and that's about it. Stay tuned for that eyeshadow tutorial. I am very intrigued and happy. I'm going to be doing that lime green and very red. It's going to happen. As always, y'all, it has been real.